Hey folks, welcome back. VVU number 8. Can you guys believe it? You've been with us through 8 grueling episodes. Maybe I wouldn't say grueling. Great episodes of the VVU. I'm joined as usual, my band of merry men, and we have a new guest today who will become a regular. So we have Jeremy Merrill, Philip Armstrong, Joe Maurer, and joining us today will be Alan Scott. Alan, say hi to everybody out there.
Hi, everybody.
All right, that was great.
Welcome, Alan. Yeah, glad to have you on board.
Yeah, we have our usual conversation that we're going to have. We're going to talk about VxRail. We're going to talk about VCF, and we're going to throw some additional things in there as well. We're probably going to do a little bit of some Apex updates. We're maybe even do a little bit of some Edge updates, and we have some other announcements, right? So off the cuff, let's just go right off the top. It's going to be some sad news for everybody watching, right? We have 3 of the merry men that's on this video right now has decided to further their opportunities within Dell, thankfully, and joined other teams. So Jeremy, please just tell the folks, where will you be going next?
Oh, wow. We're going to start off with this then. Okay.
Yes, we're starting off with this.
Yeah, I'm headed over to our Edge team, which, as you mentioned, Curtis, we had Project Frontier announcement this week, and really excited to dive into that and see what this software stack or solution stack, I should say, with Frontier is going to deliver for our customers. And great opportunity. Some familiar faces for those that have been around VxRail land for a while. The Edge team's led by the one and only Gil Schneerson, who helped bring VxRail to market when we first initially launched it. So excited to be back in his organization again as well, and kind of see how can we bring Dell out to the edge. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. And of course, moving on as well, Mr. Philip Armstrong joining the competitive team. Please tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, Curtis, thanks. And the good thing is, I'm not going far. I'm moving into the marketing organization, focused on HCI and how we differentiate our products in the market. So we'll continue working closely with the VxRail team, building a strategy on how we differentiate the product. And, it's just, it's a great opportunity. Going to continue working with, Alan, Curtis, Jeremy, Joe, because you guys all love VxRail and you're going to continue to have different things that touch it as a part of your new position. So yeah, super excited. Customers, the field, our sales teams, our partners, happy to continue to engage around VxRail.
Awesome. And last but not least, Mr. Maurer, going over to the big band of Apex. Talk to us.
Yeah, so I'm moving into the Apex Development Engineering Organization. So I'll be continuing to work with VxRail because obviously it's one of the very core components of the Apex offers, and doing some very interesting engineering development work that I would love to be able to talk about, but it's something that is very early stage. So it's kind of cool to be involved in the very early stage development activities that are going on inside of Apex. But absolutely very excited to be we'll still continue to be working together in various ways. And I know, Curtis, you have some involvement in our Apex Geos activity, so we'll definitely be in touch. And I think it's kind of a really a testament to the team that seeing the breadth and the variety of what we're going off into inside of Dell is kind of cool, that we have that ability to go and do these different type of opportunities for us from a career perspective. So really cool to be able to do that, and looking forward to it. And we'll of course always be in touch. And
well,
hopefully, I'm just going to call this the Edge video update going forward. I don't know what you guys.
We'll just take it over and claim it as the Edge video now.
Crazy. So hopefully moving forward, we can have you guys on as guest speakers every once in a while, and you can give us a little bit of tidbit. I of course, Joe, we know you're going to be behind the curtain, spinning your propeller and your hat, sliding food in the door type of deal. You're going to be deep into the inner workings of things. So I know you won't be able to share as much, but maybe you can, drop some code words or something like that on us every once in a while.
Of course, yeah.
Or just grace us with your presence and just be happy to be a part.
Happy to be
that's
here,
a good thing as well.
Just hang out.
Yeah.
All right. So as we continue, guys, thanks for giving everybody an update as to what you guys are going to be doing, where you're moving into. You will be missed, of course. It's been a long ride for many of us, but let's do what we came to do. So we're going to be talking about 70400. VxRail 70400 just came out very recently. We're going to talk about VCF 4.5, which 70400. We're going to talk about Vsan 8. We're going to talk about Vsphere, the initial availability of Vsphere 8. And then we'll talk about Project Frontier and maybe we'll sprinkle in some updates for Apex as we talk about these various updates. Okay, so let's get started with what's new with VxRail 70400.
So I think one of the things that everybody is probably excited for, and I don't know how much, I think we've talked about it a little bit in the past, is this ability with regards to the upgrades, this new functionality within the upgrades to essentially bypass a node that has failed to enter maintenance mode. Current code or up until 70400, I know we've all talked to customers that ran into this. I mean, we'd love to sit here and say, hey, 100% of the VxRail upgrades are successful every time. But obviously it's computers, it's software, it's hardware. Not everything's perfect every time. But there's been a lot of work with how we handle failures now. And I don't even want to call them failures, because I think the key thing about this feature is we're not saying that if we run into an issue with a node and that node's down, we're just going to pass that node and continue on. This is specifically with regards to the ability for a node to not enter maintenance mode for a variety of different reasons.
Right.
And
maybe to have something mounted or something like that, or a special need for the VMs that are on there that can't be moved off to another machine at that very specific point in time.
Yeah, exactly. So instead of exiting out because there's that timer, the 60-minute timer for a node to enter maintenance mode, instead of just exiting out of the upgrade and saying, sorry, we got to resolve that issue, and then hit the retry, we can now, or you can now as a customer, you can choose to enable it globally or kind of for every upgrade, or you can do it on a per upgrade basis as well. It's just a little slider that says, hey, if a node doesn't enter maintenance mode, flag the node and go on to the next one. So for those customers that have 8, 12, 16, 24 node clusters, if a node doesn't enter maintenance mode, say it's the 4th node, it'll go try node 5 through X, at least to try to get the upgrade done. So then at that point in time, if it's all done, maybe only 1 or 2 nodes need to be retried versus retrying from that failed node and then every subsequent node after that. So that's going to be a huge time savings in those environments where something occurs during the upgrade. It happens.
Yeah, so I think that's an important point you make there at the very end, right? It's going to be a huge time savings. Normally, if this was a failure of past, the rest of the upgrade will not continue, right? So now the customer has to, whatever time, say they're running this during their maintenance window, they've now run into a problem at midnight. They're not back in the office until 8 o'clock in the morning or something like that. They've just lost that time that they could have been finishing the other node. So this is going to be, like you said, a pretty substantial time saver for those customers that have, especially those customers have larger quantity nodes in a cluster.
Yep, absolutely.
Anything else new in 70400?
Well, I think to go along with that one is the ability to, when you do resume or retry an update that had an issue, it's going to continue from where it left off. It's not going to go back to all the nodes that are already complete, rescan and check them. It'll just pick up from those, from where it failed.
Very good point. Yeah. So when, I'm just going to play devil's advocate. I know these answers, but I'm going to let you guys kind of interact here. When a node does fail and the rest of the nodes finish, right? So say, like Jeremy, you said node 4, it fails on node 4, or it has an issue. We'll just call it an issue with node 4, and it continues along and it finishes the other node. Does it automatically come back to node 4, or does the customer or someone need to retry and then it goes back to node 4? What's the process that generally happens? Anyone?
I'm not sure on that one. The host that was skipped, does it retry it? No, I think it finishes up what it was doing, and then you got to go and fix that issue and retry it.
There you go. Softball. I was throwing you guys a softball. That was good. Good job. I thought you were going to miss.
You made it too hard. You threw us by saying I know the answer, and then you said,
well, I said I know the answer, but I wanted interaction from you guys.
No pressure. No pressure.
No pressure. No, but all good. So good point, Alan. Great points, Jeremy. Anything else we want to touch on for 70400 that we think the folks should know, should be aware of, the field, the customers, anything?
I think the number of APIs they've got in there has just gone up, especially when you're looking at like Ansible, right? So
good point.
Ansible modules for 70400, you check them out on GitHub, and compared to when they were first released, they've got a lot more there now. So I think that's a lot of good work they've been doing and getting Ansible modules brought into the fold for, a lot of our larger customers are using Ansible in their data centers. So being able to do a lot of these things or a lot of these VxRail functions, through the APIs for Ansible is certainly beneficial to those mostly bigger customers, but any customer that wants to start automating, some of this work.
Now, Alan, you've had some background in dealing with Ansible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yep.
All right. So what can you tell us about, or tell the folks that are watching about the use of Ansible and when it comes to the VxRail APIs?
I think again, those customers got a large amount of nodes, a lot of clusters, being able to just automate those things in a way that's familiar for them, right? If they're familiar with Ansible, they use Ansible to deploy VMs or, do other deployment functions, for them to be able to, write up a quick playbook or take the examples we have and just incorporate them into some of their workflows. I think it's a big plus for those customers, keep it in the same automation tool so they're not skipping around, and some of those, what can be more manual tasks, or normally you go and do it through the UI, for them to be able to just slap them in a playbook and hit the go button. It saves them a lot of time. I think that's what a lot of customers are looking for these days, is automate to save their time.
Is Ansible the only choice?
For VxRail, Ansible is the only tool we've written modules for. So, we don't have Terraform or SaltStack integration. But, you can use Postman, you can use PowerShell. We have PowerShell modules. Postman, if you're just, doing a one-off or maybe trying out an API, it's not really a way to automate, but it's a way to actually use the APIs. And then, the VxRail Swagger interface is there as well to check them out. But for the automation side, it's either, I think, the PowerShell modules or Ansible, your best bet.
Gotcha.
And at the end of the day, it's still a REST API. So whatever tooling you want to use to do your automation, there's
you can write your own. Yeah.
You can write your own.
Definitely.
Yep. All right. So I think we can keep going with 70400. Let's layer on VCF 4.5 on top of that. So let's talk about VCF 4.5 with VxRail 70400.
Yeah, the cool thing is with VCF 4.5, we're bringing some new capabilities to the. Did Curtis fall asleep on us?
We went off, and we'll just continue.
We're good.
Going.
With VCF 4.5, we're bringing some new capabilities, which has been something that we had Sam on a while ago, and we're talking about just improving the overall experience, specifically around lifecycle management. Alan and Jeremy were talking about the VxRail API. One of the cool things is a lot of times people were building these workload domains within VCF. And, they want to, if a node, fails or something like that, the traditional way that VxRail retried it, say you had 16 nodes within a cluster, you retry and VxRail starts that whole process over with all 16 nodes. And so that process takes quite some time. Now with 4.5, we can take advantage of that VxRail retry API, skip all of the, say, completed 12 nodes successfully and it failed on the 13th, it can pick up just on that node, skipping the other 12. So significantly reduce the amount of time when there's a failure. So that's one new cool thing about 4.5. I don't know if anybody wanted to add any comments around that.
Yeah, actually, I just pulled up the bill of materials there from the release notes, or the release notes, I should say, Philip. And they're, looking at some of the things here, I think it's some stuff that, maybe we'd have taken for granted in the past with regards to Cloud Foundation. And I think the same for VxRail. We can look at every release, and there's always going to be enhancements to LCM. There's always going to be enhancements to the pre-checks. But it looks like, looking at the release notes, there's a pretty significant update to some of the upgrade pre-checks within VCF. Yeah. So, anything that we can do from a customer perspective, and to your point, I think Sam talked about some of this in one of the last previous updates we did, maybe the two updates ago or something like that. Anything we can do to alert customers to potential issues of an upgrade not being successful, the better. And so it looks like they've added quite a bit in this release, which is always great. And then all of the various operational improvements. Looks like we can rename clusters and apply user-defined tags and things like that. So just, continuing to bring flexibility into the solution itself is obviously always nice.
It's huge, yeah. And y'all were talking about Ansible a moment ago. Alan was talking about that. One of the cool things that 4.5 brings is something called workflow optimization. So that's talking about deploying VxRail clusters within a VCF environment, but bringing another level of operation. Now that workflow optimization is built into the UI. So for a standard VxRail build, instead of having to go to VxRail Manager to create that, our teams, our services, our partners will be able to, from SDDC Manager, kick off a workflow optimization from the UI, will create the cluster, build the workload domain, so on and so forth. So that's a great enhancement to our journey to just automate everything, right?
Yep. Curtis, are you back? You froze on us for a little while.
He's frozen again.
Yeah, he's frozen again. So all right, well, we can continue on.
We have redundancy built in here. Yeah,
we're highly available here. We just keep going. Yeah, we'll keep going through our own upgrade. So yeah.
we'll just keep going through it.
We'll try the VxRail retry API in just a moment.
For Curtis in a minute. Yeah,
let me get him back in.
All right, guys.
There he is.
Am I back? Am I still frozen?
No, you're back now. We hear you
there.
Oh man, I'm so sorry about that. That's what hey, you got to take the good with the bad when you work from home, right? Sometimes your internet works, other times it doesn't. So
that's right.
I missed everything that you said about VCF 4.5. I'm sure it was excellent, though.
It was phenomenal.
I bet it was.
Yep. Call Curtis if you need support. He'll help you.
So we'll continue, right? So from the stance of VxRail 70400, from the stance of VCF 4.5. With VxRail 70400, both of those, even though it's kind of somewhat hidden behind the scenes, with Apex, they're both going to be available for Apex Private Cloud and Apex Hybrid Cloud, right? So that's great news. So all the goodness that we just talked about, those customers that want to go down an OpEx purchase type model and deal with Apex and go through the Apex console to procure their infrastructure as a service for Apex Private Cloud and Apex Hybrid Cloud, underneath the covers there is VxRail, right? And underneath the covers of Apex Hybrid Cloud is VCF with VxRail. Those are both customer managed, so the customers can take advantage of all the capabilities that we've just talked about thus far with VxRail 70400 and VCF 4.5 with 70400. Let me add one more thing that's relatively very important in my mind from the back-end hardware. Again, we don't really talk about these things when it comes to Apex, but we've now transitioned from 14 gen. And as you guys know, if you've been watching our previous VVUs, 14 gen VxRail hardware is going to be end of life relatively soon, right? We mentioned it before. We've talked about it. What?
I'd say now, I mean,
end of sale, end of a sales offer. Yeah,
I said relatively soon. Yeah. Come on now.
2023. Let's not get people to panic and think
fair enough. Okay. So, we've now incorporated all the goodness that comes along with 15 gen Power Edge into the Apex family. So all the same capabilities that we have on VxRail now are also under the Apex umbrella. So you get all the improved benefits, the 28% better workload density, up to 86% increase in IOPS, 33% reduction in latency. Of course, those are the numbers that come along with the 15 gen marketing, right? You get edge optimized configurations as well with Apex. You get dynamic nodes now with Apex. Right. So for those customers in the past that were like, well, I want to be able to grow my compute separate to my storage. How can I don't want to necessarily be buying nodes that have everything in it moving forward. I want to just get some more nodes with CPU and memory and utilize external storage. Well, now you can do that as well with Apex and dynamic nodes with no Vsan.
Yeah. Hey, Curtis, real quick. So I was looking at the VxRail release notes and the what's new, because sometimes there's some stuff buried.
Of course.
We see the cool features like the new changes to bypassing nodes that don't enter maintenance mode. But since you brought up external storage and dynamic nodes, there's one thing that's been buried, and maybe I just missed it in some of our internal meetings. But we actually are now allowing for dynamic node clusters to leverage the VxRail deploy to manage vCenter. Historically, those had required that we tie it into the customer's existing vCenter. So that was kind of just
correct.
buried down in the release notes here. But for a lot of customers that want that look and feel and that operating environment that VxRail brings, but they can't go to a software-defined storage layer for whatever reason, they can now bring that in and they can have it all contained, right? They don't have to worry about leveraging their existing vCenter. So that's a pretty nice little feature they added.
It's a pretty nice little tidbit that they kind of just, like you said, just kind of threw it in there as an additional feature, right? So yeah, definitely good points. So touched on VxRail 7.0 400, touched on VCF 4.5 with 7.0, talked about some quick little updates dealing with Apex and 15 Gen on Apex. Let's keep the ball rolling here. Let's get into this Vsphere IA that just happened, this initial availability of Vsphere 8. And let's talk a little bit about Vsan 8 as well and what's being referred to. I mean, we've been getting lots of questions in regards to the OSA and the ESA. What's the difference? Can I do this? When will VxRail do that? And can VxRail do that? Let's peel that onion back a little bit. We don't need to dive into the super deep details, but just give the folks something to keep their minds moving forward as they start to look into this new technology. So Vsan, OSA, ESA. Can anybody tell me the difference? Let's talk about it.
So I'll bring it up real quick because I think we've talked about it in the last video, is that we've got the Vsan ESA, which is the express storage architecture. And it is a fundamental design change to Vsan and a fundamental design architectural change where, and again, kind of I'll probably reiterate what I said last week or last go around of our VVU was it's architecturally changing the dynamic of how disk groups and cache drive kind of organization is set up. So you don't have the cache capacity tier or type of organization that is part of the current and still continued to be supported offering of Vsan OSA, which is the original storage architecture of Vsan, and giving you an optimal performance path. I mentioned there's some changes to some of the underlying structures in terms of how the data is laid out to optimize things like snapshotting capabilities, again, potentially setting up for future enhancements to layer on top of that new Vsan ESA architecture, to reiterate the A in the architecture. But real quick, just to remind folks that Vsan ESA and Vsan OSA continue to be supported in Vsphere 8. They will be a path for customers to effectively choose, or even if they're running Vsan in their current existing 6.5, 6.7, 7.0 updates, 7.0 versions, they can continue to run their version of Vsan OSA. And
so let's hit on a couple points right off the gate, right? So 2 paths: OSA, original storage architecture; ESA, express storage architecture. Can they play together in the same cluster?
Great. In same cluster, no. Just
in the same cluster, no. In the same environment connected to a single vCenter, yes. So you can move workloads and stuff around.
Yep.
What about upgrades? Can you, since you can't do it in the same cluster, you can't add ESA nodes into an OSA cluster. Can you upgrade an OSA cluster to be an ESA cluster?
As of the time we're recording this video, no. So no, there's no path to be able to do an upgrade. It's a net new Vsan deployment for the OSA or for the ESA architecture.
Right, and the ESA is kind of built around the nature of NVMe drives to take full advantage of the performance of NVMe drives, device level performance. It requires, or suggested requires, to be 25 gig or 100 gig networking to get the most out of this environment. So what about those customers that have all NVMe nodes today? What's their option? Can they just wait for the ESA to be available and just boom, slap it on?
Well, in theory, well, the reality is that you'll have to you want to be aligned with the hardware support matrix in terms of what hardware is actually supported. So I'll say there's the theoretical side of it. The reality, the practical side of it is that you'll want to align with the new hardware requirements that are put in place for Vsan ESA. So probably in my roundabout way to get to the answer is probably no, you're probably not gonna be able to just take your hardware that you've got today, even if it's an all NVMe node, and just slap Vsan ESA
Right.
on it and be supported. So that's a
Right.
roundabout
So,
way of saying that, yeah, no, you can't.
you know, for some customers, they're going to be like, oh, up in arms and be like, oh my gosh, I bought all NVMe in hopes that I will be able to use it. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. Not all hope is not lost, right?
Right.
In the grand scheme of things. When you look at the OSA, there's improvements that's associated with the OSA. There's performance improvements, just like with any other release of Vsan and Vsphere. Obviously, there's even more increases in performance, potentially differences in cost, et cetera, when you start going to the ESA. You gain more capacity because you no longer have the cache drives to contend with. So every drive that's in the system is a capacity drive, giving you more overall usable capacity. So a customer could deploy or employ both in their infrastructure. They can upgrade from Vsphere 7 to Vsphere 8 OSA, take full advantage of the new capabilities that comes along with that, and see if it fulfills what it is they're after. And if necessary, if it doesn't, and it reaches a point, they can either add more resources to that OSA cluster, or maybe that's the time that they said, okay, let's buy or invest into an ESA-based infrastructure, migrate our workloads over, repurpose our old cluster for something else, right?
Exactly.
So it's not, oh my gosh, we can't do this, all my hardware is not good anymore type of deal, right? So there's still hope.
Oh, yeah.
So what else can we talk about from the Vsan 8 perspective? We touched on OSA, ESA, we touched on upgrades, we touched on NVMe. I'm trying to think what else was out there. Jeremy,
I was saying,
recently got a whole bunch of questions. So
yeah, I was saying, because as you mentioned at the beginning, Curtis, of the Vsphere 8 conversation, there's the IA release.
Oh,
that's
yes.
Initial availability. I know new software comes out, everybody's kind of excited, right? Everybody wants to play with the new shiny object. I read a blog post from VMware about this new IA, because it's something new for VMware to do the IA release. So it is the initial availability, and eventually it will go GA once it meets certain metrics that they're going to gather, and runtime and all kinds of other things. I think the key thing here is for those folks that are listening to this because they're VxRail customers, or maybe they're looking to become VxRail customers. Right. We will release VxRail based off of GA releases, not off of the IA releases. So once that goes GA, that's when VxRail will kind of start that clock for that synchronous ship program that we're part of, or SimShip, synchronous ship, however we want to call it, program that we're part of. So, yes, the IA is out there. It's exciting. It's cool. But we will have something once the GA release is out there. We'll have something within the SLO, or service level objective, that we've had with regards to the VxRail releases after a VMware GA release.
Awesome. This has turned out to be a longer video than we normally do. So let's touch on one more thing, and then maybe bring it to a close. So Jeremy, as you mentioned early on when we started, you're going to be moving over to the Edge group, and I believe there's been a new announcement recently since you've been over there, right? So can you tell us how this Project Frontier is supposed to transform the Edge? Like, what do you know about it, if anything? I mean, you've only been over there for a little while, right? So.
Yeah, I've definitely been diving in. So we did have our release, or our announcement, on Wednesday about Project Frontier, and really, when you look at it, it's kind of being branded as an edge operations software platform. So it's a combination of hardware. When you look at securing the edge, so if anybody's interested, I think it's Dell.com/Project Frontier, I believe is the URL to get into it. And there's a really cool little video of a hypothetical company called Why Go Buy, and how Project Frontier enables them to roll out new applications, new features, new services out at their retail locations for customers. But it's not just rolling that out. It's also kind of taking the root of trust from manufacturing to delivering it. So taking security really to the extreme, to make sure that nothing happens to that hardware from manufacturing time to the time that it arrives on site. So it's about securing the edge. It's about optimizing the environment and the investment out there in that environment, making sure that you can spin things up quickly, and then also simplifying those edge operations, but not just simplifying them at scale, which, when you look at it, one of the announcements that came as part of this, so we announced the whole Project Frontier, but when you look at the overall Edge announcements, one of the other things that was kind of bundled in was the XR4000, which, you know, is a pretty sweet little Edge platform that can be flex mount, rack mount chassis. I think we talked a little bit about it because we announced the new modular platform for VxRail at VMware Explore, which is going to be leveraging this XR4000 platform. But that platform can be pretty interesting for many different use cases. Even for, you know, if somebody wants to, you know, from within Dell wants to send us each one, I'm sure we would all take one.
We'll
And put it
take
in
it,
our
right?
house.
Make a great home lab. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I did double check to make sure, and Jeremy, you were correct as usual. Dell.com/Project Frontier. Right to it. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, for everybody that's watching, keep in mind Jeremy's only been over at this Edge place, like, you know, like it's a new restaurant or something, for like this week, and he's already dove deep into Project Frontier. That can tell you about his dedication and his love, his passion for technology.
What's also interesting too, if shameless plug, if customers scroll down to the bottom of that page, we also launched the Dell Edge Design Program with our customers. So, you know, if you look at some of the things we've done with VxRail, especially for those customers that have been with VxRail for 6.5 years or 5 years, you know, for a significant amount of time. One of the things that I think we did really well on the VxRail side is we always took customer input. We always took their feedback on how to improve the product, whether it was a process, whether it was a feature or functionality, anything along those lines. And there's an opportunity for those customers that are building out their Edge to get it on the ground floor for their Edge-based environments as well, and have that influence and that input into the solution itself, which is going to be really exciting. You know, I think anytime any products delivered and developed in conjunction or in partnership with our customers, the ones that are actually going to be using it, it's going to be more relevant. I think you can look across the market, just the IT market, and there's been a lot of really cool products that have been out there that, you know, lasted just a couple months because it wasn't either it was too early, it was too far ahead of its time. It was cool, but it really didn't have a place in the market, or didn't solve any problems that customers were encountering.
I mean, you know, we've the four of us, and now Alan, we've all been together for a while, so we've seen some of those early products, even under the EMC umbrella, the early Dell EMC umbrella. You know, so we've been a part of that for quite some time. Gentlemen, I think we've exceeded our time. As usual, for those watching, please like, subscribe, comment, whatever is necessary. You know, this is a bit bittersweet for me. You know, I've like I said, I've been with Jeremy, Philip, and Joe for quite some time. Jeremy and Joe since the beginning of time, so to speak, when it comes to VxRail and the early stages. So, you know, I will miss you guys. I'm not tearing up or anything, okay? I will miss you guys.
It's in the shadows right now, Curtis, so we can't tell.
Hey,
That's right.
basically, we're going to keep in touch. We're going to keep you guys close, because all these products, whether it be the Edge, whether it be competitive, whether it be Apex, VxRail, it's all going to be part of Dell's bigger multi-cloud strategy. So as we keep going forward, we will come closer and closer together, even though we're in different groups, right? So with that, thank everybody, and I'm going to close it out.
We can't hear anything.
Oh,
it's not playing. Or Curtis froze.
Did I freeze again?
no.
Oh, there you're back. Yeah, it's not picking up whatever you're playing.
Oh,
on
it's
your
not
phone.
picking it up. That's it was my voice to men. It's so hard to sit back. If it would have played, it would have been appropriate.
Yeah, you got to do it, Curtis. Just
You're rated on
Sing
YouTube.
it, Curtis. Just sing it.
Sing, yeah.
Sing it. That's what I just said.
It's not that type of show. I can't have like all the comments be people coming in to hear me speak, right? So
Curtis, we want you to go pro.
Curtis is going up to California and hitting the recording studios.
Curtis is going on The Voice. He'll be
The gentlemen, again, thank you very much for your time, your energy, your efforts, your patience, your help, all the above. I wish you all the best of luck moving forward. Like I said, we're going to be staying close. Alan, it's you and I, buddy. We got to hold it down moving forward. So
sitting there like, thank goodness.
That. All right, guys, you guys enjoy. It's Friday, as a matter of fact. So enjoy the rest of your Friday and enjoy your weekend. And for those
Take
out there
care.
watching, like I said, like, subscribe, comment. There's more to come. If you guys want to see more Jeremy, Philip, and Joe, put it in the comments. I'll bring them back. We'll bring them back. All right. You guys take care.
All right.
Blessed day.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Bye.